Welcome back from the tech sessions. We're going to do something a little different over the next 3 UC Central Live sections. We're going to run a thread through a bit of them all. You've been hearing, what great inspiration in the plenaries. You've all been going to tech sessions. You've been, eyeballs deep in the technology. You've all been learning. It's been fabulous. What we're going to talk about for the next 3 sessions is organizations, people. We're going to start by giving you practical advice for succeeding in your organization, and we'll finish in the third one talking about your GIS career. We're going to begin by having some of our professional services team give you a very unique perspective to what a successful GIS organization looks like and what their strategies are. They're going to share insights they gained from many, many years in the field. I'd like to introduce Anna Sokol, a lead from professional services. Over to you, Anna.
Thanks, Nick. Like Nick said, my name is Anna Sokol. I'm a team lead within professional services, and I'm joined by 3 great experts today supporting our users day in and day out. You may recognize some of these faces from past UCs. I'm going to start by introducing Jennifer Vaugh-Gibson, a principal consultant in natural resources, helping our customers, like you've heard all week, create a more sustainable world. Julia Gard, a senior technologist who helps with some of the most complicated implementations and technical projects there are out there. And Steve Marshburn, a senior consultant who works with some of the biggest commercial customers that Esri works with. So we're going to be talking today about successful GIS missions. I actually want to start with a quick poll for all of you to give us some feedback on how you define success, how you think of a successful GIS mission. So hopefully you guys will see that on your screen. And while that's going, I want to start, Jennifer, with you. This is a big topic, Jennifer, and I think when I talk to our users, and I know when you do, people ask us just, where do I start? What do I do first to be successful?
Thanks, Anna. That's a fantastic question. And for the users that I support, whether they're new to GIS, implementing ArcGIS for the first time, to deploying a custom geospatial application, I always ask the simple question, why? For any successful GIS engagement, the right conditions must be met. And that first condition is, what is the business reason for doing it? What is the need before you get into the technology? A customer that I've recently supported, Ohio Department of Natural Resources, had this vision that Ohioans needed a better information on recreational trails within their state. They had this business need to provide a way to the public to have a mechanism to explore trail opportunities. This vision and business need and in-depth conversations ultimately led to the development of the Ohio Detour mobile and web application, which is now available to the public.
Which I think people can see up on their screen now too, right? They can see it, you can go to it, you can download it.
Yes, yeah, please go check it out. And so once that business need is addressed, the next step is determine what are your organizational and technical strengths that can help you achieve those goals. And once you have that, you can think about how you can build quick wins to start to achieve that goal and larger vision.
That's great, Jennifer. So, Steve, that makes me think, what is a quick win? We hear that term a lot. It's kind of a buzzword, but what's it really mean to have a quick win?
Right. Yeah, and it's classic consulting terms, right? Quick win, win-win, low-hanging fruit, oftentimes overused. But what does that actually mean in terms of bringing value to the organization? And I think a good place to start is actually a visual we prepared for you. And Anna, we were talking about this earlier in the week about how we've leveraged this strategy in our company.
Exactly, and hopefully you guys can see the visual now. It's a really simple visual, but it's impactful, and it's not just something we present in presentations and at conferences, which we do, but we actually use it when we're consulting with customers. We think about that business value on the y-axis, ease to launch on the x-axis, and we're obviously looking for things that are high value and easier to do, that quick win upper quadrant.
Yep. Yep.
And this also kind of reiterates that organizational and technical strengths that I mentioned earlier to help you with that ease of launch.
Right, that ease of launch changes based on that, what your strengths are, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I think, as we're rolling out capability, right, we want to roll it out in that upper right quadrant as much as possible, because that's really where we're going to start giving the technology to the users, giving it to the organization, and really providing, those quick wins. So, the interesting thing about this is that it can be vastly different between organizations, right? I mean, it could be something as simple as seeing your supply network on a map for the very first time, or replacing a paper-based process with an electronic survey, or it can be more complicated, more complex, leveraging real-time analytics as a server extension, or doing things with any sort of complex kind of GIS, where you're integrating with a third-party system or integrating with data. I mean, it really just depends on where you're at with your geospatial journey.
So what's easy for organization A might not be easy for organization B.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's a way for you to think about, for your organization or for you as an individual, where do I need to start? What do I need to do first?
Yeah, exactly. And the benefit of this approach is perhaps obvious, but it gets the technology where it really needs to be, which is in the hands of the users, right?
Quickly, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's where you're going to start seeing faster adoption, what's working or maybe what's not working with that solution. And then hopefully that gives your IT management teams, your GIS management teams, a little more time to focus on some of those more complex or more strategic initiatives, which are also critical to success.
So we've defined what a quick win is, but then how do they actually do it?
Yeah, we've kind of talked around all that, right? We know what it is, but how do you actually do this? What are they? And one approach we've taken, and I've taken quite a bit in my career in working with users, is thinking about work in terms of increments or phases, right? Starting with an initial operating capability with the technology, doing a proof of concept, leveraging a pilot program for a specific geographic region. This allows your organization to stay agile in a complex environment, and really gets you to that analysis part, or where you're able to start measuring the success of that solution.
That's all really great. I think let's pause for a minute, maybe go back to the poll and see if we can see where the results are and what's rolling in. There were a lot of choices. I'm actually excited to see what was at the top. Satisfied end users was the very top one. Nothing breaks was shockingly a lower one, but Julia, from a technical perspective, I love nothing breaks. We just sometimes need things to think about, are we building things that work, right?
Yeah, Anna, I love it when nothing breaks. And there's some truth to that, right? Because at the end of the day, for myself and for our users, a successful GIS mission from a technology perspective means that the technology just has to work for you as an organization. And, it's easy for me to say that sitting here, but in today's age, that can be very complicated. We are now being tasked to solve so many different types of problems that have changing requirements sometimes. And that forces us to have to evolve with the technology and adopt new as we go.
And our systems that support those different solutions on the front end might be wildly different on the back end, right? To support everything going on and making it all look seamless. It's not always that simple.
Absolutely. Yeah, in the real world, our GIS administrators and analysts, they're having to juggle legacy systems, the maintenance of those and the continuity, while also making time and space to innovate. And that reminds me of an example right now, actually. I'm working with the county, and they have this wonderful idea to roll out a brand new mobile application. It's going to be real-time data processing, for all of their constituents to use. But the underlying architecture and security is actually in conflict with their existing legacy systems that they rely on today. So they're having to make some tough choices.
But balancing all those pieces, right?
Exactly.
The legacy here, the new there,
right.
Providing both. You can't just stop providing the legacy solutions when you want to roll a new thing out, when you want to roll that quick win out.
Absolutely, and I think that's the right approach to take. Be holistic when you look at your system architecture. You can take the lessons of the past forward, you can maintain the systems you rely on, but you also need that space to do new and to evolve and learn new technologies. ultimately, I think that's the pattern that I see with successful GIS missions that can maintain into the long term. It's that they have high technical agility embedded in their culture, something that they practice day in and day out.
So that high technical agility, that's a great kind of thing to think about when you're thinking about success, right? Will I be architecting a solution, a system that will let me have those quick wins, keep things running? Quickly, I just want to kind of go through back to JVG. Like Jennifer, we talked about the at the beginning. You talked about requirements being met. Like, is that kind of what you look for in terms of how you measure success from working with state and local customers?
Absolutely. You have to go back to the beginning. I mentioned the right conditions, but it's also the right approach. Do you have a well-defined list of requirements? Are you meeting those requirements? Are your customers satisfied with the product that you have developed? If we look back with Ohio, a key measure of success for them is the public downloading the mobile applications.
Since from the launch, Apple Store and Google App Store, so we can go download right now as we speak.
Yes, absolutely. And they've had over 15,000 downloads. So that is one key measure of success. I guess, Steve, going back to you, thinking about the commercial customers that you support, how do they measure success?
Yeah, I think that commercial organizations oftentimes look at those typical business metrics, right? Return on investment, cost savings, and those are truly important. You have to keep the shareholders happy and the board of directors. But there's other measures of success that many of my users and my engagements look at that I think are equally as important. Good examples are, the value of a second, right? So if you're able to make decisions quicker and in more real time, that's potentially life-saving for your organization, or it could be, thousands upon hundreds of thousands of dollars year over year. It could be something like resource allocation, making sure that you have your resources kind of strategically around the country or the globe in the right way, and that equates cost savings. Or it could be something like a rollout or deployment schedule. So if you're a centralized IT department and you have dozens of operating entities you need to serve, having that measured success of rolling out to each one of those business units is a challenging task, but something that you can prepare for, plan for, and you can measure as you're moving along.
I'm glad you mentioned that, Steve. I mean, that plays right into the way we measure things traditionally from the technology perspective. It's really important to have good uptime or meet your service level agreements. Right. We also measure recovery, the ability to recover in the case of a disaster, how much capacity the system can take on or load. There's all these really traditional technology metrics that we can look at for measuring success. But I think at the end of the day, it all comes back to the people behind the technology. It does take a village to do some of these things, and you need the support of your IT staff and system administrators, your database administrators, and your GIS team all working together to make it happen.
I love that you said that, Julie. I think we always say technology is easy, people are hard, right? We have to train people. The next segment that you're going to see on UC Central Live is going to be all about people. I actually am going to wrap it up and toss it back to Nick, but I do want to end with one final thought. Jack mentioned this at the end of Plenary Monday. I think as you're doing all this, as you're trying to be successful, celebrate that success, right? Share what you did, share it with your peers, share it with your sponsors. It opens the door to that next opportunity, the next great thing you can do, the next great problem you can solve. So I want to thank my panel and everybody for being here today. This is great. And Nick, back to you.
Thank you so much, Anna. Thank you, team. I really hope everyone who watched, that was about 12 minutes of conversation we just had. I'm hoping you had your pens out or your computer up, your iPad, and you took the amount of tips that you just got to basically make and help your organization be successful with GIS was invaluable. So I really hope you were taking notes.